How's it going, guys? I'm Aaron from PhoneDog.com, and Verizon's sticking to their promise to release a bunch of 4G LTE devices by this year. One of those is the Motorola DROID RAZR 4. Now, this was announced at CES earlier in the year in Las Vegas, and it's available as of tomorrow at Verizon Wireless retail stores. Now, this looks a lot like the Motorola DROID RAZR and the DROID RAZR MAXX, but it continues along in that traditional Droid line with a physical QWERTY keyboard and some other goodies as well, like a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor, a 4-inch display, an 8-megapixel camera, and Android 2.3, though Motorola does promise that it'll get ice cream sandwich in the coming months. So a nice physical QWERTY keyboard. Maybe this is the device for you, or perhaps you're looking at the DROID RAZR or the DROID RAZR MAXX and you're kind of like, which one should I get? We're going to try to find out a little bit of that in the unboxing. This is going to be rugged unboxing style, coming from the UPS box. We're going to rip it open in old-fashioned style. I don't really know why it's old-fashioned style, but hey, you know, it sounds good on camera, so I'm going to roll with it. Motorola DROID 4, is this a device for you? We'll find out. But first, some love to Best Buy Mobile because they hook us up with phones just like this for use in our One Paw Bandit game. When you go into Best Buy Mobile, you'll walk out working. They'll help you set up your email, your web, all that good stuff on this device. So when you walk out the door, your keyboard settings are set up, your email's good to go, and you don't have to worry about a thing at Best Buy Mobile. But enough of that, let's take a look at it. Motorola DROID 4, is this a device for you? Or maybe you should go with the Big Daddy, what I like to call the Big Daddy, the DROID RAZR MAXX with that awesome battery. We'll find out in the unboxing, which starts right now. Big old UPS box is about to get attacked by Aaron's not so sharp but still decent keys here. Let's take a look at the unboxing of the Motorola DROID 4. This is the newest iteration to the Droid lineup of devices. You know, it replaces the DROID 3 and kind of gives that design a nice refresh and puts it in line with the DROID RAZR and the DROID RAZR MAXX. So we saw this at CES, and apparently, let's see if how my cutting skills are here. They really need some work. Let's cut out. Come on. Let's see if I can use my muscle and cut that open. This is harder than I thought. Let's go ahead and get this. There we go, that works. So here is the DROID 4, some documentation which we'll put to the side, and then here is the actual device itself. So it comes in that typical Droid box that we know and love, and just to give you a rundown of the specs, it's got a 1.2 gigahertz dual-core TI OMAP processor. I'm going to shift the camera here a little bit and focus in on, or zoom in rather, so you can take a look at the box itself. So the DROID 4 is here, and you can see the design looks very similar to the DROID RAZR and the DROID RAZR MAXX, but it has that physical QWERTY keyboard. So it's nice to see this kind of, you know, them kind of keeping in line with the design. And like I was saying, 1.2 gigahertz dual-core processor. It has a 4-inch display instead of a 4.3-inch display, but it has that typical, and you can kind of see here, DROID RAZR or DROID RAZR MAXX-esque look to it, you know, with its kind of the curved edges, and you can see the way the keyboard looks. It just fits in line with their existing design scheme. So let's see, in the box you get the typical stuff, and it looks like they've had to charge the device and do some things to it. So interestingly enough, it does have a micro SIM card, in case you were wondering. For whatever reason, Verizon's kind of shifted around between micro SIM cards and regular SIM cards. So the DROID 4 does take a micro SIM, in case you were curious. And this looks like a little SIM card ejector tool. We'll figure that out in just a minute. Important consumer information. You got your master your device in here. Consumer information about radio frequency and información sobre la garantía y seguridad del producto, as I always do in the videos. And then, of course, the typical AC adapter module and USB cable. So nothing too exciting in the box outside of the device, of course. But again, you know, spec-wise, pretty decent here. 8-megapixel camera on this bad boy with 1080p HD video recording. And you can see up top, you got your 3.5mm headphone jack and your power button. And then over here, you got your volume rocker. And it looks like a little tab that we can remove a sticker. Okay, there we go, sticker on the back. Yeah, thank you, Motorola. They left us a sticker, or Verizon rather, they left us a sticker to remove. And then, of course, the camera on the back along with 4G LTE logo. So it's nice to get that Droid line finally in the LTE area, and then your HDMI port and your micro USB charging port over here on the left side. So we'll go ahead and power it up, and you can see the front-facing camera along with your capacitive buttons down here at the bottom. So it just kind of exudes a new look as a result of the design, and still, even with the keyboard, it's still a relatively thin device, and it feels good in the hand. It's got a nice weight to it. And you can see, even though the battery is non-removable, or excuse me, the battery is, yeah, no, the battery is non-removable. That's what I thought. Okay, so the battery cover does actually come off, but you can see here, battery is not removable. Do not attempt to remove, and it probably messes with your warranty. But you can lift to access the micro SIM card slot, and then of course you got a micro SD card slot as well. So that seems to be the new trend of these, you know, non-removable batteries. And whether you love it or hate it, Motorola has done it on a bunch of their devices: the DROID RAZR, the DROID RAZR MAXX, and now the DROID 4. So you can see some minor changes just out of the gate. I see the fact that the text messaging button, text messaging app icon rather, has changed a little bit. And let's see what you get out of the box here. We'll go into apps. and take a look right away. So you can see it's loading up, it's taking its time here, but it does have a dual 1.2 gigahertz dual core processor, so hopefully it'll be kind of zippy here in just a second. So you can see out of the box, we'll go straight to Verizon and take a look and see what comes pre-installed. Apps, device setup, emergency alerts, IM, mobile hotspot, MOG music, My Verizon Mobile, NFL Mobile, Slingbox, you got your VCast tones, your Verizon video, your voicemail, and your VZ Navigator. So typical Verizon stuff, and then you probably get the games on here as well, like Let's Golf 2 and Madden NFL 2, although you can uninstall those thanks to Motorola's little nifty thing that I like here where you can press and hold on an application and uninstall it. Now one thing that I just found interesting just in initial testing there is these capacitive buttons. I'm kind of expecting them to be a little bit lower on the display. So when I was doing like that and was expecting it to go back, I kind of pressed down here by default instead of pressing where the button actually is. So if you are used to some of the other devices, perhaps an older Motorola device, that might be a little bit of a difference for you and something that takes some time to get used to. But text messaging, the icon's a little bit different. And let's jump right in because I want to get an idea of what this keyboard is like. And you can see, unlike the Droid RAZR and the Droid RAZR MAXX, it kind of returns to that Droid Bionic color scheme here. You can see it's gray instead of black. The multi-touch keyboard is gray instead of black as well. So we can say the Quick Brown Fox is happy to have the Droid 4 to play with. Quick Brown Fox is going to play with the Droid 4 a little bit later, so he's happy to have the Droid 4 to play with. And of course you've got your 5-row QWERTY keyboard here. You've got a dedicated number pad, which is nice. You've got a D-pad down here at the bottom, or dedicated number row, if you will. And then of course your typical keyboard. And it looks like it's laid out pretty closely to a typical computer keyboard. The keys are shifted properly. But let's give it a test, and let's say the Quick Brown Fox is hungry for something besides soup and bread. And bread. Quick Brown Fox is hungry for something besides soup and bread. So far it's relatively easy to type on. You got a nice large caps lock key, a nice large shift key, your D-pad down here so you can use it for navigation purposes. And so for those people that email or text message on a regular basis, this is going to be kind of nice to have, even though you're sacrificing a little bit of screen size for that physical QWERTY keyboard. It goes down to 4 inches on this device instead of 4.3 inches on the Droid RAZR and the Droid RAZR MAXX. Another thing is battery on this bad boy. It's a 1,785 milliamp hour battery. So instead of that, that gigantic 3,300 milliamp hour battery we've seen in the Droid RAZR MAXX, if you are a battery hog, you may want to look at that and kind of forego the keyboard, or perhaps you want to go with the keyboard and kind of forego the battery life. It's a tough call. It depends on what's most important to you. But otherwise, typical layout here, 5-row or a 5 home screen setup here that we've seen before on previous Motorola devices. No real changes here to the notification bar either. Everything looks relatively similar. Let's see what else we've got here. And the dialer, everything looks pretty normal there. But it's a good looking device. It's nice to see that they've kind of brought it in, like I said before, with the typical Motorola scheme here, so it matches the Droid RAZR and the Droid RAZR MAXX pretty closely. And let's take a look at the browser here, because this is the first Droid device, original Droid device, or OG Droid, as you see on the internet, to have, let's go to phonedog.com, the first OG Droid to have 4G LTE capabilities. So let's see, phonedog.com. Let's see how quickly it loads up. So even though I've always said 4 inches is kind of a nice sweet spot, even as we're getting into these 4.7 and 5.3 inch devices, I'd say 4 inches is a pretty nice sweet spot, and it's got some nice transition effects. It's reasonably fast, and you can see pinch to zoom, even though the page isn't fully loaded. It's nice and responsive here, so I think 4 inches is a good sweet spot for a lot of people. I think if you're looking at this between maybe the RAZR MAXX or the RAZR or any of the other devices in Verizon's lineup, that extra 0.3 or 0.5 inches really isn't going to make a huge difference for a lot of people. I really think it's going to boil down to whether you need the physical QWERTY keyboard or whether you need the battery life that comes from something like the Droid RAZR MAXX with that gigantic 3,300 milliamp hour battery. So it's a good looking device. It fits right in with the Droid lineup. It's got some nice improvements. It's got a dual core processor, and of course it's got an improved keyboard, and it fits right in to the new Droid lineup. Much more coverage to come on phonedog.com with the Motorola Droid 4. Keep it locked on the site. We're going to do a lot of testing with this. We're going to see if this is really capable of everything it says it's capable of, how it compares with the Droid RAZR, the Droid RAZR MAXX, the Rezound, the Galaxy Nexus, all these other high-end bad boys on Verizon and in the lineup right now. We're going to do tests, some dogfights, and more, so keep it locked on the site for continuing coverage. Be sure to like us on Facebook as well, facebook.com/phonedog. We always do cool stuff on there. Excuse me, we're always doing cool things on there. We're super fun. Be sure to like us, and be sure to follow me on Twitter as well, phonedog_Aaron, and on Facebook at facebook.com/phonedog. youtube.com/PhoneDogAB. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.